Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Fresh Hell Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Amy. Today, I'm talking to Vanessa Cornell. She is a teacher and masterful space holder who convenes women through her groups, courses, and retreats to unlock their power and purpose. Vanessa has dedicated herself to giving women the tools and confidence to step into their power and lead lives of joy and purpose. Vanessa is the founder of NUSHU, a women's community grounded in wellness and empowerment that hosts retreats around the world. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you, Amy. I'm so happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your background. You're a mom of 5. Tell us a little bit about how you came to start this community and do this work.
Yeah, so it was literally as a result of having 5 kids in 6 years.
Oh, boy.
I've told this story so many times, it almost seems ridiculous, but I was pregnant, breastfeeding, or both for 8 years straight. And at the end of those 8 years, I fell apart for reasons I'm sure everyone who's listening can understand.
Everybody listening is like, how'd you make it 8 years, right?
Exactly. And I actually have theories about that too. It's like the more capable you are, the longer you last before you fall apart, the longer you last before you feel like, oh, I can't do this on my own. But it's the capable ones. It's the really like together with it, high energy ones who last a really long time and get themselves in a deep, deep, deep hole of despair before they even consider showing a crack to the outside. And so my crack was not a small crack. It was an epic explosion. I mean, I really could not take it anymore. And from that place of desperation and loneliness, frankly, I realized that I had been living my whole life trying to meet an external expectation. It's the only way I can describe it, including the way I was soldiering through in a stoic way, being pregnant and having children. I was doing a good job, but at what cost? I was doing a good job taking care of my kids. I was doing an abysmal job taking care of myself. And ultimately, I couldn't take it anymore.
What was the moment that you realized? Did somebody else hold that mirror up to you, or did you realize it for yourself?
It kind of came in the form of, I married the wrong guy. I wasn't supposed to have kids. I don't want this life. I don't care about anybody, and I'm out. That's literally the thought that went through my head. It seems so crazy to me now. I absolutely married the right guy, by the way. He's amazing. I love my children. I have an incredible life. But I got to a place where I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I feel nothing. I'm so numb. I'm so tuned out. All I felt like I needed was out.
That's burnout, isn't it? We kind of throw that term around, and I had a tough week at work, I'm burned out. No, burned out is when you feel nothing, when you come to that. You can't lift a finger to help yourself, let alone anybody else.
Yeah, I would even say burnout is like 10 steps before where I was. because I felt burned out, but I just pushed through. And then I felt more burned out. And then I just pushed through. And then my body started talking to me and I still pushed through. And I felt lonely and I knew something was wrong and I still pushed through. So it was a long, long time of completely ignoring all of my physical signals, my internal signals, my intuitive signals. I was very, very good at overriding for a long time.
I mean, I think as women, we're kind of supposed to, right? That is the assignment, to put yourself last. I read something recently where somebody said how often you see in an obituary about a woman, she thought of everyone but herself, right? She never had a thought for herself, only other people, and that's held up as a good thing, as a way to spend your entire life.
Totally, totally. And it's absolutely glorified. She's always there for everyone. She's so generous. There's no one she would turn away. Everyone always goes to her for everything. And inside, she's dying.
Right.
Inside, she's cracking. Inside, she's falling apart. And so I will say to people, my life started turning around the moment I decided to be selfish. I had to be selfish. Because when you think about selfish, that could be the worst thing you could say to a mom.
Right.
Right? That is like, if you're going to say something to a mom, selfish is just about the worst thing you can say. But when you think about selfless, it literally means without self.
Yes. Your needs aren't in the equation.
Right? Let us glorify being a selfless mom. Let us glorify you completely ignoring, suppressing every aspect of self in order to become a mother. And so to me, I was like, no, I have to be selfish. And when I started, I was like, self-ish. Just a tiny bit of self. Please, can I just bring just a tiny bit of myself online? And then it grew and it grew. And I realized, oh, I'm so much better as a mother being selfish. Now, I don't mean selfish as in not taking care of my kids, narcissistic, right? That exists too. So I don't want to deny that that's a reality. But for someone like me, who is so far in the spectrum over to selfless, and maybe listeners who are like, I do everything for my family, getting selfish is the best thing that you can do for your kids for so many reasons. But for me, it's not going to make me leave them and hate them. Number one, just to have some sense of self and some ability to feel okay in myself. But also, it brings your whole everything online. It brings your creativity online, brings your energy online. It brings your example online to your children of the fact that you're interested in things out in the world. It models the way you can be as a mother, existing dedicated to your children, but also dedicated to yourself and your interests and your friendships and your happiness. And so much of what I've given my kids has come as a result of not being exhausted, burned out, and frankly, resentful. Because if you don't crack, you're definitely resentful because your life has been stolen from you, not by anyone else, by yourself. But how can you not be resentful of the children that took your life from you? And the children then carry that burden. I remember my mom saying to me, I gave up everything for you, and feeling this pang, like, I'm so sorry. I mean, I didn't ask you to do that. I didn't ask you to give your life for me. And now I carry the burden of knowing you gave everything up for me. That's not what I wanted. It's not what our children are asking us to do. No child goes to their mother and says, I want you to give up everything for me. I want you to give up yourself for me. And so in a sense, it's a self-imposed, societally imposed standard that does not benefit the mom for sure, but definitely doesn't benefit the kids either.
So tell us about being selfish, the small steps that you take, because there are many stops along the way, I would think, between the person you were then and the leader you have become in this space now. So tell us about these small steps and the ways that you first started, because you were creating this journey. You were making this up as you went along, it sounds like.
I was just trying to learn as much as possible, figure it out with other people, bring teachers in. And actually, you had mentioned, what do we want to mention at the end? I'll mention it now. Something that I want to give this community is the literally 5 minutes that I need every day to help me get my needs met. And it's at my website, vanessacornell.com/whatfreshhell. And it's literally 3 questions. 3 questions I ask myself. What do I feel? What do I need? And what do I want? And the thing about those questions is they're actually kind of confronting to a lot of people, because I ask people, how do you feel? And they're like, I'm not really sure, because I haven't really had the time or luxury to feel anything, because I'm too busy meeting other people's needs, feeling into what they need and what they want. What do I need? I'm not really sure, because I've become really good at suppressing what I need so that I can meet other people's needs. And then what do I want? That one's the most confronting. It's like, what if I have no answer to that? Exactly. Because we've been trained to not need or want anything. We've learned how to not want anything. So the good news is anything that you learn, you can also unlearn. But it takes some time and it takes some patience. And so those questions are designed not just to have answers, but they're also designed to be simply asked. Because if I ask myself, how do I feel? I'm actually telling myself it actually matters enough how I feel to ask the question and take a second to try and answer.
Right. And not push it away, right? And not justify it because it's just for yourself.
Yep. And also, like, if I ask myself what I need, I may not know what I need, but I am telling myself my needs matter enough to ask the question, enough to take the moment to ask. So if people ask those questions and it feels confronting because they don't know the answer, that's okay. Just the asking of the question matters. And so you mentioned lots of small steps to get from there to where I am now. Yeah, every day. Asking every day.
So you're asking yourself this every day, and I imagine the answers weren't pleasant ones in the beginning. How do I feel, right? Or maybe when you start to do this work, I think you can live in like, well, you're not really mad. You're sorrowful or you're resentful or whatever. There's things behind it that you need to get to. But you need to sit with that before you get to, I feel pretty good today. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. And, and then there's categories, right? They're the categories of feelings that are allowed. And then the categories of feelings that aren't allowed. And especially for women, the way that we're raised, there are certain ways we're allowed to be and certain ways we're not allowed to be. So angry for most women wasn't really encouraged. Oh, don't make such a fuss. Don't be so difficult. It's really not acceptable for a girl to be mad and express it and throw a tantrum, right? Like, that's not okay. We use our words. We don't scream. We don't yell. It's not okay. And so for a lot of women, anger might be the answer, and anger and rage can feel really messy. And so for me, let's not even start to interpret how we feel. Let's just let it be what it is, right? Like, I feel angry and I don't know why. Okay. But let's just let that be true for a split second before we shame it away, or we say, but I shouldn't feel angry, or, but I have so much to be grateful for. That's a way that we shame away a lot of things. We overload it with gratitude. Well, but I shouldn't feel that way because...
Right. I have no right. I have no right.
I have no right. I have no right. But no one's really done anything terrible to me, and this is my choice, and all of these ways that we justify away or shame away the things that we feel. Like, let it be ugly. It's just to you, right? Let it just have a second to breathe before we start to explain it away, because emotions actually have so much to teach us. Anger is a way that we know when our boundaries have been crossed, when something's not okay. And so for a lot of women, I think that inkling or that feeling that something's not okay gets kind of ignored, buried, pushed aside. Whereas I want to bring that inkling to the table. It's like, something feels not okay. Tell me what feels not okay. Tell me what feels wrong. Tell me what feels unfair. Tell me what feels off, unbalanced. And in those conversations, we can start to understand, like, oh, okay, it doesn't feel okay that I'm always taking care of everybody else, and there's nobody even considering how I feel in the situation. So let those parts come online and really tell us. And what happens is that we start to look at situations that we were okay with before, and we start to say, I'm not okay with this anymore. I used to be willing to. I am no longer willing to. And that's how you see that change is happening. I have a lot of things that I can say, I am no longer willing to. And that feels really good, but it's taken me a lot of sitting in some ugly emotions
Right.
to get to that place where I'm like, you know, I used to be willing to, and I am no longer willing to.
I'm talking to Vanessa Cornell, the founder of NUSHU, and we'll be right back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE. So Vanessa, you founded NUSHU, which among other things holds retreats for women and spaces for women to gather. And you say your goal is to hold space for women to come home to themselves. So I wanted to break that down a little bit. What is holding space? How do you define that?
So holding space is kind of what I was just describing. It's creating a space where things can just be.
Okay.
When it's holding space for other people, it's allowing them to share their experience with you without trying to jump in and change it or fix it or soothe it. And so a lot of times with respect to our kids, what they really need us to do is hold space for them. It's really hard for us, right? Like when our kid is angry or frustrated or disappointed or hurt, we really want to soothe them. We really want to jump in and fix it for them and make that feeling go away for them. And what we really need to do is just say, like, whatever that is, I can just listen and let you have your experience without trying to change it or fix it. Because a lot of times as parents, it's so painful to watch our children in pain. We're actually doing, when we're going in and trying to fix or soothe, is soothe our own discomfort. We're really trying to manage our own experience with respect to our children. And so much of holding space is being able to tolerate, be aware of, and manage your own experience so you can be with someone and not interfere with their experience.
How do you start to do this work? I could see doing this work for yourself, and I can certainly see doing this work on a retreat with other women. That must be amazing. And then you come home, where your teenagers think everything you do is annoying, and your spouse might consider this navel gazing or just not get it. And I think particularly when you're a mom, everybody wants you to go back to the way you're supposed to be. You know, if they see you upset, you're overreacting. But that's what they call it, so they don't have to engage with, like, maybe you have a point, right? And so you start to do this work. You start to say, okay, these are things I'm not going to tolerate anymore. How do you then bring that back into your family and with your parenting partner, your relationship, without it being perceived as, okay, she's here to burn everything down? How do you sort of walk them into this?
Yeah. So, I mean, so much of parenting is actually modeling. You can tell them all day what they should do, but they're just watching what you do. And so much of this is being able to show my kids that I'm a human being that's messy and makes mistakes and has emotions, and that I can actually show them that in real time with respect to them. I'll give you an example. So, you know, my first son, God bless him, his room is like a tornado. And I'm like meticulous, and it just drives me crazy because I'm like, you could just pick up your stuff. So I walk into his room one day, and I've had a day, you know, things have gone wrong, this kid for this, and I don't even remember the circumstances. And I walk into his room and I'm like, you know, it's just not that hard to pick up your stuff. What do you think and I just go off on him. And then I kind of recognize, I'm like, oh, this is me. This is the day I've had. And kind of in the same tone of voice, I'm like, and you know, the truth is, this has nothing to do with you and your messy room. I've just had a really frustrating day, and I am taking it out on you, and I'm really sorry because you don't deserve it, but I've just had a day. And he looks over and he was like, it's okay, Mom, I know. So we have kind of practiced this honesty with each other about our internal states, where it's like, I can be really aware of my internal state. It doesn't mean I like control it with an iron fist, but it gives them permission to also be honest about and have an internal state that is shareable with the world, especially with their parent. I think as parents, we're often under this impression that we need to model this ideal behavior for our children, which then tells our children there are only certain things or aspects of myself that I can share with other people, and the other ones I have to hide. The ones that aren't okay, I have to hide. Rather than saying, no, you cannot take things out on other people, right? But you're allowed to have all of those emotions, and you're allowed to express them. And the family is a safe place to express that whole range of your internal human experience. And so when you start to have a level of awareness about your own triggers, your own fears, your own worries, your own patterns, and you can be honest about them, then your kids are like, oh, I have fears and worries and patterns and hangups too. And so all of this, you know, you say navel gazing, right? Navel gazing, this self-awareness, all of the work in self-awareness allows you to actually show up as a full human being and models children being able to say, oh, I get to be a whole human being. I don't have to try to be the person my parents expect me to be. And it deepens my relationship with my children, because if you're curated self is interacting with your child's curated self, there's a whole part of you that's missing and a whole part of them that's missing. You don't actually get to have a true relationship between your whole self and your kid's whole self. And so it's deepened my relationship with my children tremendously. And I would say it's given them real permission to really tell me who they are, warts and all, without having to hide or lie about parts of themselves to me. And so, yeah, it's a lot of self-work that translates into every single way that I am with my children, which is self-aware and knowing of who I am so that I can share that person. And when you know who you are and you share yourself with somebody, that connection is so much deeper and more intimate.
That higher level I hadn't really thought about. I mean, to know your own emotions and to identify your triggers, and then to get to a level where you're owning your own stuff in your relationship with your partner and your relationship with your kids. To have our kids have the emotional maturity to say like, yeah, it was something weird happened at school, and I guess I'm just bringing that home with me. Sorry. Wouldn't we all love to have that amount of emotional intelligence in our deepest relationships instead of trying to be our best selves because we're not allowed to be angry in this house? It makes a lot of sense to me. You talk about boundaries. You recently said this on Instagram, and I said, wait, what? This was good for me. More boundaries equals more ease. The more boundaries you have, the more ease you have in your life. And I thought, that's interesting to me because boundaries, setting boundaries, holding boundaries seems like hard work, particularly if you're somebody who's not as good at doing it. So tell us about the part where there's more ease and how you get there.
Especially as a mom, you can feel a little bit like, well, you kind of teach people how to treat you. So if you tell your children, I am here for you no matter what, anytime, for whatever you need, that can mean one of two things. That can mean you have the security of knowing that when it really matters, I will always be here for you. Or it can mean I am at your beck and call. And those are two very different things. I think it's really important for my children to know that when it is important, they are my first priority, and I will absolutely be there for them. That I want to be involved in their life. I want to participate in their sports games and their theater productions, and I absolutely care, but I am not at their beck and call. I am a human being with one body and 24 hours, a number of hours of which I need to sleep, and that if I am at their beck and call, I will fall apart. And that they need to understand that I am considerate of them and they need to be considerate of me. And so this is where the boundaries come in. It's like my son texts me, where's the orthodontist's office? And my response to that text is no. You are 17 years old and you can Google it, which is what I would do. My response to a lot of texts is no. And so you teach your children how to treat you and also how to be independent. I don't think it's very helpful to your kids if you are doing everything for them. But what's tricky as a parent is the fact that you do start doing everything for them, right? When they're infants, you have to do everything for them, and then you have to transition away from that. And in order to do that, to kind of retrain your children to do more for themselves, you have to set up boundaries, which says, I used to do that for you. I no longer do that for you. I used to be willing to do this. I am no longer willing to do this. And so I think that clarity is very helpful, because without that clarity, it becomes annoyance. Oh, my kid asked me to do this again, and I did it, and I'm annoyed, right? And so it's more work and it's more emotional toll rather than saying, I'm no longer doing that for you. With all the love in my heart, I know you can do that for yourself, and I'm no longer doing that for you. And so it's less work for me. It's more independence for them, and there's clarity about it. No emotional tone.
Right. The clarity brings the ease. My daughter's high school has asked the parents, they're trying to make phones less a part of the school day. And so they've asked parents to please refrain from texting them about anything. And, we have a group chat. Some of my kids are away at college, and we're sending each other nonsense in the group chat all day. But Now, when it's during school hours, I go to, send them the silly video and then I stop because it is during the school day. There's clarity there. And so then that makes sense to me. There's a boundary which equals clarity and that equals ease. She doesn't need this right now. I can show it to her later.
Yeah. I also think, oh gosh, this parenting thing has just become madness, what we do for our children. Being a parent used to be like, you provide clothing and shelter and food and love and make sure they get to school. Now it's like the logistical challenge of being a parent with the emails from the school and the things you're involved with and the after school activities. We're doing too much and everybody else is doing it. So it seems normal, but we're doing way too much. My son went to college and he's a musician and he was on a show where he was interviewed at school. And I looked at him on the video 2 months after he had left home. And I was like, who is this young man? Who is this young man? He's been gone for 2 months and it feels like he's grown up 5 years. And I thought about it and I said, what made him grow up? I was like, oh, I'm not there. I'm not there. The most important thing that happened was that I went away. And I didn't do things for him anymore. And he was able to go do things on his own. And so to a certain extent, this over-parenting is stunting our children. We're doing too much. So if you're overworked and you're burned out, I think the answer is do less. Do a little bit less. I look all the time at what I can stop doing for my children. Because I have 5 and doing everything isn't even reasonably possible.
What ages are your children now? What their age range?
12, 13, 15, 17, and 18.
You can't be at all 5 children's everything.
No, and actually that's been the best thing for me because I am totally an overachiever, I'm a full-on dot every I, cross every T, make everything perfect. Like you work hard until you get the job done just right. And with 5 children, that was off the table. Thank goodness. Because I think with one, I might have tried and I might have created a problem for my one. With 5, there was no way. There was absolutely no way. So I had to early on release the idea that it was even a good idea to try and do it all perfectly, which I don't even think exists, right? There is no such thing as perfectly. And in parenting, unlike school, trying harder doesn't necessarily mean doing better by your kids. Sometimes it's the opposite. So the good news is doing less might be the answer.
I'm talking to Vanessa Cornell, founder of NUSHU, and we'll be right back. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
Hey there, I'm Kendra Adachi, and my show, The Lazy Genius Podcast, helps you be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't, and you get to decide what matters. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you a new way to see. Episodes of the Lazy Genius Podcast are full of compassionate time management tips and permission slips to do what makes sense for you. New episodes drop every Monday. Follow and listen to the Lazy Genius Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Vanessa, you also talk about mom guilt a lot in your work, and there is a reframing that I had never heard before. I thought this was very refreshing. So tell us about mom guilt and why it's kind of not the right name for what we're experiencing.
Yeah. The reason I started thinking about this is because everyone I was talking to was feeling so guilty all the time. I was like, all the moms are feeling so guilty. What is this about? These are good people. These are good moms. They're doing great things for their kids. What's this mom guilt thing about? And so I think about guilt, like if you think about in a court of law, if you're considered guilty, right? You're proven guilty. It means you've done something wrong, you've harmed somebody, and there's a requirement of some sort of repair, right? And so like if you hurt somebody, if you say something nasty to someone, you have this feeling of guilt. You're like, oof, I made a mistake. I did something that I regret. And you have a course of action, which is repair. You go and you apologize. So that's how I think about guilt. Somebody got hurt. In so many of these situations, talking with moms, they didn't actually hurt anybody. Their children weren't actually upset or hurt. They hadn't done anything. They were going away for a weekend with their spouse, and they felt guilty about it. But the kids were perfectly happy. The kids are at home and they're thrilled and they're with grandma or they're wherever they are and they're okay. But there was this feeling of guilt. And so I was like, this isn't actually guilt, because guilt requires you to have this emotion where you're like, I did something wrong and I need repair. And what I realized was it wasn't guilt. It was fear. It was fear. And it was a fear of a lack of the ability to control the outcome for our children. And so we have this idea that we, by virtue of just sheer force of will and hard work, can make sure that our children have happy, healthy lives. Like how many parents do you hear say, I just want my child to be happy? And then they're signing them up for the SAT and they're signing them up for the soccer practice and they're signing up for the tutoring and I just want my kid to be happy, because somehow all of those things that they're doing for their children are going to pave the path towards a life that's happy without heartbreak, without disappointment, because we don't like to feel that on behalf of our children. And the truth is, we can't pave that path. We shouldn't pave that path. But anytime we feel like we're not giving it our all, we're feeling like somehow through our force of effort, we could have, or we should be able to avoid all of those outcomes for our children that we don't want for them. And so when we don't show up every day and we don't come to the class play, or we go away for a weekend, or we're working and we're not home all day with our children, we think, oh gosh, somehow I'm not trying hard enough. As if trying hard enough could somehow predict the way life is going to turn out for our children. And so there's this fear of lack of control over the outcome for our children that drives us in this continuous loop of just doing more, trying harder, working more for our children, when the truth is bad things are going to happen to our kids. They just are. We can't control it. We can't avoid it. And there's nothing we can do to prevent that from happening. Now, there are things we can do, like when you ski, you wear a helmet, right? There are certain things that we can do to protect our children, but we're going way too far. And so the idea of, instead of focusing on all the little things we can do, what are the actual things we can do to help our children thrive? And for me, there's three things. Does your kid feel loved? Does your kid feel safe? And does your kid feel seen? And if you've done those three things, to me, that's pretty much your job as a parent. And the rest they're going to figure out on their own. And they're going to have the basis and the safety and the love and the acceptance to go figure all those things out, make all the mistakes they're going to make, navigate life the way they're going to navigate life. But if you're doing those three things, you should feel guilty about nothing. You should feel guilty about none of your decisions, particularly if those decisions are decisions that are made for you to feel whole. The decision to work, for example, or the decision to not work, the decision to pursue your friendships, the decision to focus on your marriage or your partnership. All of these things for people seem to feel like they're in conflict with being a good mother, but they're not in conflict. They're supporting being a good mother. And so the guilt, when we can recognize it as, I'm worried that something's going to happen and that I will not have done enough to prevent it, is making us crazy, because something is going to happen and it doesn't matter how much you do. There's nothing you can do to prevent it other than the normal things like, life jacket.
Right. Look both ways. One of our listeners said that. I've never forgotten it, that I spent so much time worrying about all the bad things that could happen from my kids, and then different other bad things that I wasn't worrying about happened instead. Not that life is terrible, but so there's going to be bumps, and they're not bumps you would have predicted ahead of time anyway. So stop worrying about each bump that could happen.
I know. And worrying is basically preparing yourself for something that hasn't happened, that may not happen, right? And the problem with worrying is that in order to prepare for something that hasn't happened, because you don't know what it is, you've got to play all the scenarios out in your mind, right? And so I don't know, I'm sure listeners can relate to this, the circling in your mind of every possible scenario and how you will respond to every possible scenario. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to prepare for infinite possibilities. And it never ends and it never resolves itself. And so instead, this idea of building self-trust rather than building preparedness. So self-trust says, when a scenario comes up, I believe that I will be able to meet it. I don't know what will happen, but I know something's going to happen in life. And I trust that I will be able to meet it when it happens. And so to build self-trust for ourselves and to build self-trust for our kids, to say things will happen in your life and I will be here for you. You have me to count on. I will support you, but I believe that you will be able to meet whatever comes up. And the only way to do that is to really mean it, is to not intervene, is to not fix, kids are very smart. You can say this, but if you're always there to intervene and fix for them, they're going to say, yeah, you don't really believe that I can handle it. You don't really believe that I can make my own decisions. And so it's really hard as a parent to sort of say, like, at an age appropriate time, I trust that you're going to make the right decision. And whatever happens, I am here for you, because they're going to make the wrong decision. Because this is the training ground for adulthood. This is where they have to make all the mistakes while they've got you there. And so it's really hard to watch your kid make a really bad decision when you know it's the wrong decision, and to restrain yourself and say, I can tell them it's the wrong decision, or I can let them make that choice. And this one I struggle with. I have to be honest. It's like I say this to other people and then I look at myself and I'm like, ooh, I just did that thing. So it's like...
It's a journey. It's a path that we're all on.
It's a journey. I am also a human being who has a really hard time with these things, but it's really, really, really hard. But to be able to build that self-trust where it's like, okay, I trust that whatever situation comes up, we can meet. You can meet, I can meet. Saves us a lot of energy. The worry energy is intense. People say, wow, you've got 5 kids and 2 businesses. How do you still have energy for everything? Because I've cut out a lot of leakages of my energy, and worry is one of them. That my brain goes down that rabbit hole. Again, I'm totally a human being. But when my brain starts going down that rabbit hole, I'm like, oh no, we're not going there. We're not playing out scenarios that haven't happened yet in an infinite loop.
It's the emotional intelligence to notice it, right? To say, oh, there I am doing that thing. And that little moment of awareness.
The one I do a lot is if I'm driving a car with all of my kids, particularly when they were younger, I would do this thing where I would try to figure out if we crashed, in what order I would take them out of their car seats. I know it seems crazy, but I bet a lot of moms are like, yeah, obviously, because we are sort of there to protect them and we're in sort of protection mode. And so I'll let myself do it for a little bit and they'll be like, oh, and you're cut off. Like I'll let myself loop there and I'm like, oh, and you're done. You're not allowed to go anymore because it's not helpful. It's not helpful, So it's not that I don't go there. It's that I got to catch myself. Otherwise, it could take up my whole day. It could take over my whole day. And it's exhausting. Like I come out of one of those like spiral rabbit hole sessions. And I'm like, whoo, I worked hard today.
Right. And I
worked hard today.
From imaginary things that didn't happen.
Right. I saved my kids 75 different ways today. Whew, I'm exhausted.
Tell our listeners about your retreats and the ways that you work with groups of women.
Yeah. So I love retreats. Just the premise of women choosing to step out of their lives and prioritize themselves for a period of time. And being honestly in a community of other women, so much of the holding space is also just being with other people who feel the same way. You know, I run a lot of groups also where the questions are really just meant to solicit honesty in a place where there's permission to be honest. And often when women will share what they're feeling, you'll see another woman across the circle being like, oh, thank you for saying that out loud. I've been thinking that for a long time, and simple things. So I love convening people in person, but obviously going on a retreat isn't in the cards for everyone. And so I do online courses as well. And I have a newsletter where I share so much of this for free. So across the spectrum of, yes, I'm in a position in my life where I can take a week out of my life, or I can get engaged in a course, or I can just engage in the newsletter. I just love being with women, particularly in this phase in their life where they have been really successful at taking care of everyone else. And they've got this inkling or this feeling that like something's off about the balance of this. Something's off. And I'm having a hard time breaking through that feeling because of this idea, like, I don't want to be selfish, or I really want to show up for my kids. But I love working with women in this phase because I have found so much aliveness through this work. I feel like I was a great mom before I broke down. I'm a great mom now, but my life feels really full. I just sent one to college. I'm going to send 4 more in the next 5 years. And I'm excited. I'm excited about the next 5 years. I'm excited about the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. There's so much there because I've kind of discovered that the creative energy that I have and the capacity for connection that I have is so much more than I thought was ever possible. And so this feeling of kind of uncomfortable breaking down of who I thought I should be can be hard, but there's so much on the other side.
I've been talking to Vanessa Cornell. Vanessa, tell our listeners where they can find you on the internet and remind them about your special gift for them.
Yeah, so I'm vanessacornell.com. And the special gift is just my own practice. It takes 5 minutes. I had to make it really, really short because moms are really busy, that I do every day to really move me from dead inside to totally alive, to be dramatic, but it's true. And it's vanessacornell.com/whatfreshhell is where you can find it.
I'll put the links to that in the show notes. Vanessa, thanks so much for talking to me today.
Thank you, Amy.